The message arrived at 2:17 in the morning. Daniel would remember the exact time for the rest of his life, not because he was awake, but because the vibration of his phone against the wooden bedside table sounded unnaturally loud in the silent apartment. The sound cut through the darkness like a whisper that didn't belong to the night. He opened his eyes slowly. The ceiling above him was barely visible in the faint light coming from the street lamp outside his window. For a few seconds he lay still, staring upward, his mind trapped somewhere between sleep and awareness. Then the phone vibrated again. He reached for it lazily, expecting a late message from a colleague or perhaps a spam notification. But when he unlocked the screen, his tired eyes narrowed. It was a message from an unknown number, just a single link. No words, no explanation. He frowned. Daniel wasn't the kind of person who clicked random links at 2 in the morning. In fact, he barely clicked them at all. Years of working as a cybersecurity analyst had trained his mind to treat unknown links the way people treated suspicious packages. But something about it felt different. He couldn't explain it. Maybe it was the silence of the night. Maybe it was the way the message had no text. As if whoever sent it had nothing to say, only something to show. He stared at the screen for a long moment. His thumb hovered above the link. Then he sighed quietly. "Curiosity will kill you one day," he murmured to himself. And he tapped it. The link opened a video. At first, nothing happened. The screen remained black. Daniel frowned again, adjusting himself against the pillow. For a moment, he thought it might be a broken link or a loading issue. Then the video started. The camera showed a quiet street at night. Daniel's chest tightened instantly. He knew that street. It was his street. The camera angle was slightly tilted, as if someone had recorded it secretly from inside a parked car. The street lamp outside his building flickered exactly the way it always did. A cold sensation crawled down his spine. "What the hell?" He sat up slowly. The video continued. A figure walked into the frame. It was a man. The man was wearing a dark jacket and moving slowly along the sidewalk, hands in his pockets. Daniel leaned closer to the screen. His heart skipped. The man was him. He was watching himself. The timestamp in the corner of the video said it had been recorded 3 hours earlier. He remembered that moment clearly. He had returned from work late, tired and irritated after a long meeting. He had walked down the street exactly like that, but he had never noticed a car parked nearby. He swallowed. The video continued. Daniel watched himself walk toward the entrance of his apartment building. He stopped briefly to check his phone. Then the video paused. The screen went black again. A few seconds passed. Then text appeared. "Look behind you tomorrow." Daniel blinked. "What kind of stupid prank is this?" His voice sounded hollow in the quiet room. He replayed the video twice. The message remained the same. "Look behind you tomorrow." He felt a mixture of unease and irritation. Someone had filmed him without his knowledge. That alone was disturbing, but the message made it worse. He checked the sender's number again. Unknown. No profile. No history. Just that one message. Daniel considered replying, but he had no idea what to say. "Who are you? Why are you filming me?" Instead, he locked the phone and leaned back against the pillow. His brain tried to dismiss it as a random prank, but something about the video felt deliberate, precise, personal. Eventually, exhaustion won. Daniel fell asleep again. Morning arrived quietly. Sunlight slipped through the curtains and spread across the room like warm water. Daniel woke up with the vague memory of something strange. Then he saw the phone on the table. The memory returned instantly. The video, the message. "Look behind you tomorrow." He rubbed his face. "This is ridiculous." He got out of bed, showered, dressed, and made coffee. But throughout the morning, the thought lingered in the back of his mind like a faint itch. By the time he left his apartment, he had almost convinced himself it meant nothing. Just a prank. Just someone trying to scare him. Outside, the street looked normal. Cars passed by. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. A woman walked her child toward the school bus. Everything looked ordinary. Daniel walked down the sidewalk toward the subway station. For a moment, he forgot about the message completely. Then he stopped. The memory returned suddenly. "Look behind you tomorrow." He stood there, feeling slightly foolish. Then he turned his head. Behind him was an old man sitting on a bench. The man was watching him. Their eyes met. Daniel looked away immediately, embarrassed. Maybe the message meant nothing. Maybe it was coincidence. But something made him glance back again. The old man was still looking at him, not aggressively, not suspiciously, just calmly, almost gently. Daniel hesitated. Then he walked over. "Excuse me," Daniel said. "Do you know me?" The old man smiled faintly. "No," he said. His voice was soft, almost fragile. "Then why are you looking at me like that?" The old man studied Daniel's face for a long moment. Then he asked quietly, "How old are you?" Daniel frowned. 34. The old man nodded slowly. "I thought so." A strange silence followed. Daniel shifted awkwardly. "I'm sorry," he said. "Have we met before?" The old man exhaled deeply. "In a way," he said. Daniel felt confusion rising inside him. "What does that mean?" The old man looked down at his hands. His fingers trembled slightly. Then he said something that made the world tilt. "You sent me that video." Daniel stared at him. "What?" "The video you watched last night," the old man continued. "You sent it." Daniel laughed nervously. "That's impossible." The old man looked up again. His eyes were tired, old, but strangely familiar. "Not impossible," he said. "Just not yet." Daniel's heart began to beat faster. "What are you talking about?" The old man hesitated. Then he said quietly, "I'm you." Daniel froze. The words felt absurd, ridiculous. But something about the man's face made his stomach tighten. The shape of the eyes, the curve of the jaw, the way he tilted his head slightly while thinking. Daniel felt a sudden chill. "No," he said. The old man nodded slowly. "You don't believe me." "Of course I don't. I wouldn't have either." The old man reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photograph. He handed it to Daniel. Daniel looked down. The photo showed a much younger version of the old man standing beside a woman. The woman was smiling. Daniel's breath caught. It was Emma. Emma had been Daniel's fiancée 6 years ago. She had died in a car accident. Daniel looked back at the old man with wide eyes. "How do you have this?" The old man's voice trembled. "Because I lived your life." Daniel felt the ground beneath him shift emotionally. "This isn't funny. It's not supposed to be." Silence filled the space between them. Then the old man said something that broke Daniel's defenses. "You stopped calling her that night." Daniel's chest tightened instantly. The memory hit him like a punch. 6 years ago, Emma had called him 3 times while he was working late. Daniel had ignored the calls. They had argued earlier that day. He thought he would call her later. He never got the chance. The old man whispered softly, "If you answer the phone tonight, she lives." Daniel felt tears burn in his eyes. "You're lying." "I wish I was." The old man looked away toward the street. "I spent 30 years wishing someone had warned me." Daniel's voice cracked. "Why send the video?" "Because it's the only way you would listen." A long silence followed. Daniel stared at the photograph again. His hands were shaking. "If this is true," he whispered. The old man nodded slowly. "And tonight matters more than you can imagine." Daniel's heart pounded. "What happens to you if I change it?" The old man smiled gently. "Maybe I disappear. You're okay with that?" The old man looked at him with quiet peace. "If it means she lives, I've been ready for that for years." Daniel felt tears slide down his face. For the first time in 6 years, hope hurt more than grief. The old man stood slowly. "Just remember one thing." Daniel looked up. "What?" "Answer the phone." Daniel nodded. "I will." The old man smiled. Then he walked away down the street. Daniel watched him go. And for the first time in years, the future didn't feel like a closed door. That night when the phone rang, Daniel didn't hesitate. He answered on the first ring. "Emma." A voice came through the speaker, soft, alive, and somewhere, in a timeline that would never exist again, an old man finally closed his eyes and rested.